G'day everyone and welcome to the tennis. Reilly Opelka has taken aim at doubles, Mirra Andreeva's history-making win in the desert, and Aussie women on the rise. That's just a sample of what's ahead on the tennis today with me, Jon Hoevenaars. Riding shotgun today from the sit-down is Viv Christie. Welcome, Viv.
Thanks, John. It's always great to be here in Pod Laver Arena.
Lovely to have you filling in for Bree, who's away for another week of well-deserved leave. On the other side of the table from Outspoken.com, Dan Imhoff is back. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks, John. Good to be back in the studio for a change.
Yeah, it's a lovely change of scenery for you and the coach of Andrey Saville, Luke Saville.
Thanks, Johnny. Still sounds a little interesting, a little strange, but great to be here.
I mean, I could have picked any number of titles for you, but I think that's the most relevant one at the moment, right?
It is. It's a period of transition for me, and really enjoying it. I just had a bit of a stint in the Middle East with her, and back home now doing a little bit of coaching here and there myself, and surprisingly enough, well, not surprisingly, but she's having a great run this week in Merida, so it's great to see.
Yeah, doing wonderful things among a lot of Aussies down this week who we're going to be chatting about on the show today.
Yeah, we will, particularly the Aussie girls doing really well. A bit of a rankings milestone there. We'll touch on that later, of course.
Absolutely. And Viv, you'll give us the latest on what's happening in the sit-down, because a great episode coming up next Monday.
Yeah, as we've talked about, we had the chance to do a lot of interviews over the summer, and one of those was with Ivan Lubicic, and it was one of my favourite interviews.
Well, as we like to do off the top, what's caught your eye? And we're going to start with you, Luke Saville. What's caught your eye in the world of tennis this week?
Well, Johnny, mine is Reilly Opelka's comments about doubles. Not so positive, it's fair to say. Quite some negative comments. He's been very outspoken in the past, and I believe you've got the comments there in front of you.
Yeah, so he wrote this on social media. He said they should 100% get rid of dubs. Now, I think he's come back and sort of alerted that particular statement was made with a little bit of sarcasm, but it goes on. It's for failed singles players. There's no such thing as a doubles specialist. They don't sell a single ticket. They take up practice courts, physios, resources. They don't turn a profit, and they complain that they don't make enough money. That's pretty greedy behaviour, if you ask me. Now, it's got the tennis world in a spin, but I want to get your reaction first. What do you think of Reilly's remarks about doubles?
They're pretty strong comments, aren't they? And I think it was very interesting listening to Fitzy's comments a few weeks ago on the AO podcast, and he mentioned something like pickleball with the kitchen, I think not being able to get so close to the net. And I think I haven't played much pickleball myself, but that's been a very sort of productive rule in that sort of format. And I just feel like tennis doubles has just lost a little bit of its entertainment and probably its skill level a little bit as well. And I've been guilty of that as well, because I think if you're not crowding the net and using those skills, you're going to be left behind. So I just feel like something like that, where it just stops, particularly in men's doubles as well, where it's so dominated by the serve, to get the net players back a little bit and just sort of incorporating a little more skill, sort of your first volleys, and a bit more of the doubles prowess that was probably there a bit more evident quite a few years ago. So sort of feel like, obviously the US Open have made big waves in basically getting rid of the mixed doubles and making it basically like an exhibition, unfortunately. And I just hope that that's just not one of many things to come with the doubles format. And I still feel like there's great entertainment value, but I just feel like there's probably a little tweak that could be made in the game of doubles to make it a little more entertaining, maybe longer rallies, again, especially in the men's doubles, where I think it's just a lot of sort of serve, return, volley, put away. So I think it's very interesting.
I think what I found most interesting about his comment is that it's for failed singles players. I don't agree with that statement at all. We've seen so many singles players that have actually thrived in doubles before they've won a Grand Slam title, for example. So Martina Hingis is one that springs to mind. She won with Jana Novotná at Wimbledon. And then the following year, she went on to win 3 of the 4 Grand Slams in singles. I think doubles provides an incredible foundation for a lot of players. And we actually had the chance to ask Martina about that on the sit-down. And she talked about, it just prepares you for that big stage. I think doubles provides a great foundation for singles. Doubles it's built the game in a lot of places as well.
Especially here in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we talk about our golden era of tennis, and you know, all of the players who thrived in singles in that golden era, that, you know, I'm talking the 50s, the 60s, they loved to play doubles. There was kind of that real camaraderie, and I think that we're seeing a lot of that again in today's game.
And Rohan Bopanna, a current doubles player, obviously from India, had a really good response to it, saying he didn't necessarily make it in singles, but what he's been able to make it at doubles, he's been able to pour a lot of that back into his community. And I think he cited more than 30 girls he's managed to educate, underprivileged children in India. So that's a massive gateway that we probably don't even consider sometimes, you know, how important that impact could be and just how big of a reach doubles has that not everyone sees on the surface.
Absolutely. Look at Sonia Mirza, who thrived in doubles, and, you know, she's provided a wonderful example for so many girls in India as well. Mahesh Bapati is another Indian player who, you know, made a lot of, you know, achieved a lot in doubles and has also inspired a lot of players. We spoke to Sumit Nagal on the sit down, and he attended his academy, and that was a life-changing experience for him. So again, I just think that doubles leads to so many wonderful other wonderful things.
Reilly Opelka has certainly set a cat amongst the pigeons, but I think Andy Roddick has sort of been someone who might not have fully agreed with Reilly, but has supported his right to have his opinion and kind of has given credit to players who are prepared to put their opinions out there. Because you don't see it every day, players being this forward about their opinions on effectively what are other peers in the game.
Yeah, you really don't. And the one thing, it's just so black and white, Reilly Opelka's comment as well, and just no sort of leeway. There's no flexibility. And I mean, I'm sure he doesn't even chat to a lot of the doubles players as well or have really any relationships with. So I think just getting to know some of them, know their story, their background, because just saying they've failed singles players, that's just completely false. And I think, you know, maybe he could go and play some doubles and see if he can make it. There's nothing stopping me, is it? So very strong comments and very good for conversation.
And surely doubles is fun. Like, I know that you've played a lot of doubles and done a lot in doubles, but the team element, I mean, surely that's fun.
It really is. And a lot of my greatest achievements came in the doubles format in my career, and it allowed me to play Davis Cup, Olympics, so represent my country, which I'm forever grateful for, and some of my biggest achievements. So I love the game of doubles, the camaraderie. Everyone says I sort of get like a man possessed when I get on doubles court. I had to bring that in my singles, so that sort of energy. A lot of jumping around in my arms, do strange things when I play doubles. So especially here at the Australian Open and going out playing doubles as well, making the third round, and absolutely loved it. So I think there's definitely a place for doubles, absolutely.
Absolutely going nowhere here at the Oz Open, where we do sell plenty of tickets for the doubles, both men's, women's, and also mixed. Let's move on from that now. Viv, what's caught your eye in the tennis world this week?
Well, what's caught my eye, I was really pleased to see Andrey Rublev back in the winner's circle in Doha. So, you know, it's been quite a journey for him in tennis in recent times. You know, I think we all remember he got defaulted in Dubai a year ago. So it was good for him to go back to that part of the world and sort of, I guess, rewrite the story of what happened there. But yeah, he had an incredible run there in Doha. He three of his matches went to 3 sets. He beat de Minaur, Felix Auger-Aliassime, and Jack Draper in the final. So I had to fight pretty hard in all of those matches. It's the first title he's won twice in his career, so a 17th career title, but the first tournament he's won twice. And yeah, he has been very open recently about some struggles with depression and his mental health. So he talked again about that after the final. You know, he talked about Mirra Andreeva having helped him sort of turn his game, or his, not his game, but his, sorry, let me start
mentality?
that again. Yeah, he's mentally. So he's been very open about, you know, who he's reached out to for support, including Mirra Andreeva, his countryman, particularly after Wimbledon last year when he lost in the first round. Yeah, and he's just, I think he's inspired a lot of people.
It's really great to see, you know, someone in this day and age being so open about that side of it, because there's a lot of perks on the tour, you know, traveling and being a professional tennis player, but there's some parts that are quite difficult as well, the traveling component, being away from loved ones, friends and family. So it's great to see, and you know, he's been one of those players that have been in the top 10, but just sort of struggling to probably make waves at Grand Slams. He's playing in a pretty tough era right now, and probably similar to like a David Ferrer, when such an amazing player, but just very tough when you've got 3 or 4 very, very good players. So it's, I watched a little bit of the Alex de Minaur match there in Dubai and in Doha, sorry, and that was a very topsy-turvy one. I think Rublev had his first match point at 5-2, and then they played a 10-8 tiebreak, third set tiebreak. So great to see that he's been struggling a little bit, but staying with the process and winning that title.
I think it was like 7 or 8 match points. I can't remember the exact number, but there were a lot of match points before he won that de Minaur match. So you kind of wonder if that was a turning point for his whole tournament, really.
And I think there are a few of the matches went to deciding set tiebreaks, which he'd kind of been losing a few of them in the last year or two. So I think this was really important for him. Aussie Open first round, of course, he lost to Fonseca as well. So that's not a terrible loss, but given the run he's had, that just would have compounded things again and again, hit all these early round exits to finally pull through a big title like that and beat the calibre of players that he beat too. Yeah,
you love to see it. Congratulations to Andrey Rublev. Also last week in Rio de Janeiro, it was Sebastian Baez who took the title there. He defeated Alexandra Muller in the final. Well, what about you, Dan? What's caught your eye in the world of tennis?
Similarly, while Rublev was doing well, it was Mirra Andreeva winning her first WTA 1000 event in Dubai, which, look, she'd already reached a slam semi in Paris last year, but I feel like this one might have been more of an announcement of her arrival, more confirmation that she can actually beat these big names now. She beat 3 slam champions, Vondrousova, Swiatek and Rybakina along the way before Clara Towson in the final. So that's
Grand Slam champions, 3 of them.
3 of them Grand Slam champions. Yep. She's the youngest to crack the top 10 since Nicole Vidasova in 2007, which is pretty remarkable. Just to reel off a few more of those youngest since stats, only the 5th player to win 2 titles before turning 18. Any guesses who the youngest tour titleist might have been and what age?
Before
the youngest WTA, yeah. Ooh. Not necessarily WTA 1000.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got to be Capriati.
It is?
Yes. Can't remember
on it, Viv.
15?
Can't
16.
remember. It was US, somewhere in the US.
It was Puerto Rico.
Oh, right.
14 years and 6 months. So that's obviously not possible anymore because of
the
age restrictions. So, yeah, 7th player in the past 30 years to make her top 10 debut before her 18th birthday. I will reel off these names. So the others are Hingis, Venus Williams, Anna Kournikova, Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova, and Vidasova. Keep in mind 2 of those never did win slams, so it's no guarantee she's going to go all the way, but she's in pretty good company.
I loved her acceptance speech as well. She
She
did all the right things. She thanked her team, the tournament, and then she thanked herself.
Yeah.
Let's take a listen.
Last but not least, I would like to thank me. I know what I have been dealing with, and I just want to thank me for always believing in me and I want to thank me for never quitting and always dealing with the pressure. And today it was not easy, but I chose to be there 100%. So I thank myself for that, and I hope to see you all soon somewhere in the world. Thank you.
How charming was that speech, Viv?
I love Mirra Andreeva. I'm not going to hide that. She's another sit-down guest that we had. We talked to her at Wimbledon last year, and she was fantastic. She's just so naturally bubbly, and she acts her age, as well, while doing all these incredible things on court.
She's innocently funny, isn't she? She doesn't even realise she's off the cuff. She's very natural,
Do you reckon she realised that she was quoting Snoop Dogg in that acceptance speech? I didn't think she did.
I don't think so.
No, I think it was just
No.
purely from the heart.
I wasn't cool enough to know that she was quoting Snoop Dogg until after the fact.
She did
so-
have a smile on her face that suggested she knew something.
Yeah, I think it just came across so humble as well. There's probably a sort of an arrogant way that speech could come across, but I got zero sense of that. Just so humble, and I think she'd been thinking about it for a while because she started saying and then laughed a little bit. And the crowd laughed.
Yes.
So, but I actually loved it. I mean, the start of the speech, she thanked everyone, thanked her team, the opponent, the tournament, everyone that's helped her, and then to finish that off. And I think it's important for the athletes. Obviously, you need a support team, of course, but you've got to thank yourself. You've got to believe in yourself. Otherwise, she wouldn't be there. And it's great to sort of recognise that in a funny way in a speech.
Yeah.
It's worth pointing out too, she's one of only 2 teenagers in the top 100, and she's ahead by an enormous margin. The other is a top 100 debutante, and that'll be Maya Joint, the young Aussie 18-year-old, who'll come in at the moment, she's live ranked, I think, 88th. Could go up further if she keeps going in Merida.
Yeah, that's right.
Merida.
So she's in Merida this week among a number of Aussies doing great stuff, including your wife, Dasha, as we've touched on already. But let's go further down that rabbit hole because this could be a historic week for Australian women's tennis, Viv. Dan has mentioned Maya Joint up to 88 in the live rankings. Olivia Gadecki was already inside the top 100. And we've also got in there Kim Birrell, our Aussie number one, from whom we heard last week at 75. We haven't had 3 Aussie women inside the top 100 since Ash Barty retired in 2022.
Yeah, I think it's a great week for Aussie women's tennis already. There's been a lot of focus on the men, fairly so, with Alex de Minaur doing so well. But we've known that, there were so many women that were sort of just outside that group and waiting to sort of make that leap. And isn't it wonderful to see it actually happen?
I think in our sit down at the Newcomb Medal, I was saying that there's a lot of focus on the men at the moment, but I was really looking at the next crop of Australian women. And I really felt at the end of this year, 2025, we could have 5, 6, 7 women in the top 100. And we've got 3, and I'm hoping Dasha becomes a 4th quite soon. And
Isla knocking on the door.
We've got Isla, and then, Talia Gibson's playing great tennis, Madison Inglis, Emerson Jones, maybe not this year. She's got a little bit of time up her sleeve, but tracking incredibly well. So Priscilla Hon, I think there's a great crop there, and it's fantastic to see. I think Kim's playing great right now. She's had an amazing start to the year, sitting at 75 and still going this week in Austin. And Maya Joint sitting at the live ranking of 88, and Chris Marnie is doing a fantastic job with her. So shout out to Chris, and she's just taking it all in her stride. So she's not getting too overawed, and great to see.
So round of 16 in Merida at the moment. Let's stay there for a moment because we do want to acknowledge that Daria is the first woman through to the quarterfinals in Merida after knocking off Angelina Kalinina this morning as we record this podcast in 3 sets. She also beat Marta Kostyuk, the 6th seed, yesterday. I actually didn't watch that match, but tell us about that match because that's a formidable seed to take down.
Yeah, it was a great match. She won 6-4, 7-6, and I was actually at the match where she played her at Wimbledon, and she was leading a set in 5-2 serving. So and she went down in 3 sets there. So that was a tough one, but I felt like Dasha, after that previous performance, had the belief that she could go out there and win that one. And I think getting 2 wins in qualifying as well was super important. The conditions are a little bit different there in Mexico compared to the Middle East where Dasha came from. So to come through qualies and to win 2 matches in main draw, she was struggling a little bit prior to this, especially in the Middle East and even during the Australian summer, to be honest. But we were staying the process. We were staying very process orientated and doing a lot of the right things. And Dasha's been fantastic. She acknowledged that she wasn't playing her best tennis, but she was working so hard every day. And we felt like the practice was very good, but we need to make that transfer to matches. And it feels like it's paying off this week. So I'm very proud of her.
That must have been a huge weight lifted, that first round, particularly, given she hadn't won, a main draw match for quite a while.
Yeah, for sure. And even playing Ellen Perez first round qualies. I'm not sure if anyone saw that one, but Ellen hasn't played many singles matches in the past few years. So they're great friends as well. So to get through that, get through qualies, she had a really good win last round qualies as well against Lepchenko, who's a fantastic player. So to beat Kostyuk and sitting in the quarterfinals, she's a little bit tired, but hot, humid conditions there. She's got a day off tomorrow, and then possibly looking at a quarterfinal match with Paula Badosa. So it doesn't get too much harder than that one, but very, very happy where she's at, and a much-needed sort of run this week.
Yep, Jacqueline Christian and Paula Badosa to play off in a round of 16 match later today as we record this. Maya Joint, the other Aussie there, Dan, as you mentioned, she's through to a round of 16 clash with Donna Vekic. Should be a tough one for her, but not beyond her.
Tough one for her, but I think she's playing amazingly these first couple of months of the year and loving the hard courts. She's not short on confidence at all. Vekic, on the other hand, not in the greatest form at the moment. She's struggling a little bit, so that's a definitely winnable match for Maya Joint.
Great. And Viv, over in Austin, with a couple of other Aussies in action. Ajla Tomljanovic will be taking on Kim Birrell if Kim gets through her round of 16 match against Anna Shibahara. And it's kind of a win-win in that if Birrell wins, well, she continues on her merry way. If she loses, Tomljanovic advances into the top 100.
Yeah, it is a win either way, isn't it? Let's just look at it like that. I think it must be so tough when the Aussies have to play each other, as you just alluded to, Luke. But yeah, I think it's great to see. And again, it shows that there's numbers. There's numbers in Aussie women's tennis, and if they have to face each other in those matches, there's always a positive that comes from it.
Jess Pegula is the top seed in Austin, a big favourite to win that. We've already seen the elimination of a couple of the higher seeds, including Peyton Stearns and also Yuan Yue, who Kim Birrell took down in the round of 32. So that's what's happening in Austin. Also, Storm Hunter made her comeback in the doubles. I think got all the way to a deep into a third set match tie break and didn't come away with the win, but just so wonderful to see her back on court.
Absolutely, and I think she posted something on Instagram of early days, a video of early days of her rehab process, and just said she's never been so happy after losing a super tie break, and just great that she came out of it feeling good physically, and Storm is absolutely flushing the ball. I did some sessions with her and she's hitting the ball fantastically well. So if she can just stay on court, don't get too sore, I'm sure the results will come thick and fast for Storm.
Plenty more of the tennis coming up, including the men in Dubai and Acapulco, plus our preview of Indian Wells next week. Stay tuned. So the men are in Dubai this week and, some big storylines coming out. I think the main one from an Aussie perspective is that Marin Cilic has knocked off two Aussies in as many days, starting with Alex de Minaur, Viv, and then Alexei Popyrin overnight.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Marin Cilic and the Aussie players, but he's having an incredible run there in Dubai. And, we know he's a great hardcourt player. He's a former US Open champion and, just a really solid player all round who has struggled with injuries over the past few years. So, it's not surprising that he would have a run like this. And, I believe his game is very suited to Dubai as well.
He hadn't been on many people's radars, but that's his first top 10 win, the de Minaur one, since 2022, and somewhat of a late career resurgence from the Croatian.
It is, but keep in mind he won his first tournament back last year in China, which was a 250. I know it wasn't as strong as this, but he's still capable of pulling off good results like this here and there. It's probably more about getting in the rhythm and keeping his body right at that age, because it's been, I think, a pretty tough few years for him. And the confidence probably dissipates a bit there as well. But that's an impressive run, both those players, particularly de Minaur. The quicker surface there probably suits Cilic to hit through it, I imagine. Popyrin won his first match in a while, so he won't be totally disappointed. Yep. But still, he would have seen that as a winnable match.
What are the challenges for a big player like Cilic, later in life? Because as Dan touched on, that win over de Minaur's no mean feat. What are the challenges for big players in the twilight of their careers?
Well, yeah, it's obviously excuse me. It's obviously the injury side as well. Being bigger, there's probably a few more niggles that can go wrong as well. And I was there for the WTA tournament in Dubai a week or so ago, and it's very fast conditions there. So it wasn't surprising to me that when I saw that draw, I thought it was going to be quite difficult for Alex de Minaur. And I just sort of felt like on a slower court, Alex would be able to stretch out the rallies, move Cilic around a little bit more and make it a little more physical. But on those fast courts there, I think Cilic was able to shorten the rallies, play quite aggressive, quite big, and serve enormous as well. So probably just one of those ones where Alex came in and probably tried to find a little bit of rhythm early and was just unable to find his feet and lost in 3 sets, unfortunately.
Viv, is the first time we've seen Alex at this tournament in Dubai. He won Acapulco the previous 2 years and therefore has missed out on defending those points. So that puts his top 10 spot in jeopardy.
Yeah, I was looking at that earlier. I don't believe he'll quite fall out of the top 10. It was an interesting decision that he chose to play Dubai rather than Acapulco because he's played so well in that tournament over the past 2 years. So I'm not sure of the reasoning, but yeah, it's very surprising to me.
What do you reckon?
I'm not sure of the reasoning, but he was 5 points ahead of Tommy Paul. And if Tommy Paul won his next match against Marcus Chiron, he would have leapfrogged him, but he's just pulled out. So number 9, he'll stay for now. I think Tsitsipas, though, could still pass him. He's about 300 behind.
Yeah.
So Tsitsipas now has Berrettini, who's also entered the top 30, I think, now. So his climb continues. Berrettini. Have you got any insights on why Alex might have chosen to shun Acapulco? Do you reckon it'd be a money thing or perhaps to be closer to Katie, who is also playing in the area?
I just feel like, I don't know the reason, but the week before, so Doha, there was no hard court events in North America for Alex to play. The only one was Rio. So I'm assuming that Alex didn't want to go from clay onto the hard court. He just wanted that continuity and consistency of surface. So he was going to get that for Doha and Dubai, just play the 2 500s in the Middle East. And I'm assuming he really likes the conditions there in the Middle East as well. Alex, he plays very well on fast courts, plays well on sort of any surface as well. But I just think he wanted to go there after Rotterdam when he had that week off. He made the final in Rotterdam, of course, and just sort of have that consistency. He's had the hip issue as well. So I feel like he just doesn't want to hop around from surface to surface. Just wanted that hard court continuity. And now he's got a week to prepare for Indian Wells. I believe he just arrived there. So he's got some great preparation there. He's had a fantastic start to the year. So I think he can put that probably a bit of a disappointing Middle East swing behind him and get ready for the North American swing.
So the quarterfinalists in Dubai, it'll be Medvedev, the top seed, against Talon Griekspoor. Stefanos Tsitsipas against Berrettini, as I mentioned. Tsitsipas defeated Karan Khachanov for a 9th time from 10 meetings. He'll take on his good mate Berrettini. Now, Luca Nardi, the lucky loser, taking on Quentin Halys, the qualifier, and Felix Auger-Aliassime against Marin Cilic with his projected ranking, who entered that tournament. And over in Acapulco, a few Aussies there. Rinky Hijikata knocked out by David Goffin in the round of 16. It'll be Goffin taking on Ben Shelton there. Round of 32. So into the round of 16 now for Goffin. And Alex Zverev took care of Matteo Arnaldi. He takes on Lerner Tien. That's going to be a fascinating contest. Both had pretty charmed runs in Melbourne. Contrasting styles, but Lerner Tien, Dan, just going from strength to strength.
Yeah, he really is. After that, as you said, the run in Melbourne where he beat Medvedev, I think saved match points even, made the 4th round as a qualifier, and he's only 18, so he's backing that up. Clearly loves the hard courts. Zverev's a good test for him. I mean, he's got absolutely nothing to lose there, so 2 good wins already. Arnaldi, Norrie, ignore that, he didn't beat Arnaldi.
That's all right.
Good win, coming off a good win there against Norrie, so I think he'll come out swinging.
All right, plenty to keep our eyes on as we head into Indian Wells next week. We'll have all the results from Acapulco and Dubai next week on the show. Well, where are we going to start? We'll start with the women, I think. Iga Swiatek, the defending champion at Indian Wells. The tournament kicks off March 5, and great to have men and women in one combined 1,000 event, Viv.
Yeah, I think it's always fun when you've got the men and women competing at the same tournament. It's just a different vibe. And we know that Indian Wells is a really popular tournament with the players, and there is always lots kind of happening. There's lots of celebrities. There's, lots of events happening off the court. So, yeah, it's always a fun tournament to look forward to.
So who are you keeping your eye on, Dan?
Well, Maria Sakkari had a good run last year and hasn't had much of a run since, so she's got an awful lot of points there to defend after reaching the final. I think she lost to Iga quite easily there in the final, but yeah, a lot of points coming off for her, so pressure's on there. Iga too would be pretty keen to back it up because it was about this time last year that she started to find a form again. It'll be a good test for the Iga Wim Fissette coaching partnership. They need a big title, I think, soon.
Who would have thought we'd be entering March and Indian Wells, and from the top 3 players in the world, we've only got one title to be shown for, which is Aryna Sabalenka up in Brisbane this year.
Yeah, it's a strange one, and Sabalenka didn't have the greatest Middle East swing as well, so she was struggling there a little bit. So I'm sure she's looking for a bounce back at Indian Wells. But yeah, they call it the 5th Grand Slam, and fantastic weather, great golf around there. So I've always loved Indian Wells. But looking forward to the 2-week event, like a Grand Slam, and should be very exciting to watch the top women in the world go at it.
Aryna talked in the Middle East about she's been struggling a little bit with motivation, which
Yes,
I found quite interesting. You know, she's world number 1. Is it kind of like, you know, is she struggling to find a goal? I don't know. I think this will be a really interesting test for her.
I think the loss to Keys would still be hurting a bit. She said it hurt more than any other Grand Slam loss. So that wouldn't be totally surprising, would it, that it could still be lingering, you know, smaller events straight after. It's hard to pick yourself up again for those.
I think so, and you know, possibly not the most amazing crowds there in the Middle East as well, and that possibly that's what she loves playing for is the crowd and the entertainment, that factor as well. And I think the tennis season's quite long, so there's probably going to be some sort of ebbs and flows with the motivation and the energy. So like you said, Dan, she probably took that Australian Open loss very, very hard. So probably takes her a few weeks to get over that one, but where else to sort of get that motivation back than Indian Wells, and I think she'll be ready and raring to go.
Well, most of the big men will be there too. Of course, no Yannick Sinner sitting out for a few months until Rome, but it'll be Alex Zverev, Carlos Alcaraz, the defending champ, Taylor Fritz and Novak Djokovic among some of the big names.
I'm kind of interested to see how Daniil Medvedev goes as well. He was a finalist last year. Will have lots of points to defend. He didn't win a title last year, so I think that will eventually start to play on his mind that he's chasing a title again.
Yeah, I'll look to some of our Aussies, and you know, you've got hopefully Jordan Thompson making his return to the tour after a bit of a break with his foot. So I haven't chatted to Tomo, but I'm hoping he'll be back, and the likes of Alexi Popper and Chris O'Connell, Renke, James Duckworth. So I think a few of these boys will be in qualifying, but I think a great time for a lot of us, a lot of the Aussies to make some waves there.
Plenty to look forward to in Indian Wells. We'll have Duncan McKenzie-McCarg and Dunny Hunter-Kova on the ground for the tennis, so we'll check in with them on the show next week for their preview of the tournament. Heaps to look forward to in one of the most beautiful settings in world tennis. All right, Viv, you've got the reins from Bree for Viv's top 5. What are we doing this week?
Well, we're doing top 5 teenage champions on the back of Mirra Andreeva winning her title in Dubai. I thought it was very topical.
I like it. Well, you know how this works. We count down from 5 to 1. Feel free to interject with your thoughts along the way. Let's start us off.
5.
All right, well, we're going to start with João Fonseca winning his title in Buenos Aires.
Last month.
Yeah, just
This
last month.
Yep.
So he carried through the momentum of winning the Next Gen ATP finals. We know that he won the Canberra Challenger here, had a great Australian Open. But yeah, he won his first title at age 18. He joins names like Leighton Hewitt, Kei Nishikori, Rafa Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz as a teenage champion on the ATP Tour.
Hot start to your top 5, Viv.
4.
And next on the list, we have Mirra Andreeva. So how could we leave Mirra out after that incredible week that she has? She becomes the youngest champion of a WTA 1000 tournament. So that format has been in place for 16 years, just 1 year less than Mirra's age of 17. But yeah, I think she shows such composure for a young player. We talked about that earlier. She says she's worked on her anger management. So on court, I love her relationship with Conchita Martinez, which is, you know, it's more than a year old now. They obviously work so well together. And again, as I said earlier, I think it's all upside for her. She just gives this vibe of a lot of great things to come.
I like how she said about the Martinez coaching player relationship. She said, "I've made her funnier."
Martinez said that.
No. Mirra said
really?
about Conchita. She said, "I've brought humour to her."
Yeah, that's great. No,
Bit tongue in cheek, I'm sure, but
Number 3, Viv.
Number 3 on the list, we have Iga Swiatek. So she was only 19 when she won Roland Garros in 2020. So that was an incredible tournament for her. She took down Simona Halep along the way, who was a former champion. She didn't drop a set for the whole tournament that year. So she went on to become the youngest champion since Rafael Nadal at the tournament in 2005 and the youngest women's champion since Monica Seles in 1992.
Yeah, that was probably the start of what we really started to take notice of Iga, wasn't it?
Sure was, yeah.
And now up to 5 major titles, is that right?
5 majors, yeah, 4 of them at the French Open.
Easily chasing double digits, I reckon, by the end of her career. Who's at 2, Viv?
At number 2, we have Coco Gauff. So Coco turns 21 in March, in a couple of weeks. But there's this sense around Coco that she's actually much older than that because she did so much at such a young age. So she won her first title in 2019. She then went on to win 5 more titles before she became a US Open champion in 2023. So in the final there, she beat Aryna Sabalenka. That was an incredible final, come from behind win. So, yeah, she's definitely number 2 on the list.
For sure. Yeah. She definitely has the game to win multiple majors. Absolutely. Her athleticism and just her game in general, her serve, her backhand are absolutely world-class. And just feel like if she can bring the forehand in and just keep making gradual improvements, that shot has in particular improved a lot over the last couple of years, but it can still break down in some big matches. So if she can improve that, I don't almost see anyone beating her if she can maintain a consistent level.
So Fonseca, Andreeva, Swiatek, Gauff. Who's coming in at number 1?
Number 1, we have Carlos Alcaraz. So we already knew he was an incredible player by the time we got to the 2022 US Open. He'd won numerous titles, including a couple of ATP 1000 Masters titles. But, it was at the US Open. That was his biggest milestone. He beat Casper Ruud in the final, but he had 3 5-set matches along the way, including that incredible quarterfinal was against Yannick Sinner. He also beat Marin Cilic, Francis Tiafoe. But in winning the US Open, he became the youngest world number 1 in ATP history.
I think the question mark on Carlos is the body and staying injury-free, because he's just having a few injuries and he's quite young. And he's obviously played such a physical brand of tennis for already quite a few years, even though he's in his early 20s. So if he can stay injury-free, obviously with Sinner around as well and a few young guns coming up, including Fonseca, I'll say that he wins 12 slams.
Yep.
Handy little number to end up on. But, yeah, I agree. It's his body and then your motivation. How long can you sustain that if you're getting injured? And he even said last year he lost a lot of motivation. It kind of happened after the Olympics, but he didn't say it was purely because of that. And it took him until Beijing, not that long, but he captured the title there and it was started to kick things along again. But yeah, I think injuries motivation is his biggest enemy there.
It's so interesting to hear you say that because I remember early in my tennis writing career, I used to say the same thing about Rafael Nadal. So, the style of game that he played and, just having to keep up all of the, everything that he needed to maintain in terms of motivation. So I was very happy to be proven wrong on that front and I hope it's the same with Carlos.
Indeed. How many times did Rafa surprise us with his little, we all thought it was over in 2015 or 16 with the shoulder and then wins another 6 or 7.
Kept coming back. So incredible inspiration for Carlos there as well.
Well done, Viv. That was that was an excellent top 5.
Oh, glad you enjoyed it, John.
Top 5 teenage titleists. Congratulations to our winners. Okay, time for Ace of the Week. We each share a highlight from our weeks, and I might throw it over to you, Luke, to kick us off.
Thanks, Johnny. Yes, I'm home for a few weeks now, and my next trip is to Europe. I'm taking a bunch of our best 12 and 14 juniors to Europe for 2.5 weeks on the clay, and it's part of the Alex de Minaur Foundation. So Alex has a real drive to help and mentor our next crop of juniors, especially the 12s and 14s, and I think he feels that a big part of his development when he was young, getting on the clay in Europe, that really assisted in his development and the player and the person he is today. So he really has a strong drive to give back to the next generation of Australian juniors. And I'm part of that. I think it made sense with our relationship. Alex and I, we get along very well, and for me to be the coach there and hopefully instill some of the values that Alex, so strongly believes into these juniors, and he really wants to be involved in the next crop of Australians coming through, and it's just another feather in his cap of the champion player, not only player but the person he is.
Nice. How many children are you taking over?
There's 5 on the trip,
Yep.
and there's 2 other coaches.
Nice. Oh, that's a pretty good ratio then.
Yeah.
You won't be overcome.
No. So it'll be fantastic. I think even for me, when I got on the clay as a young sort of 12, 14-year-old going to Europe, it was very important for me to see the level.
Enjoy that. Dan, your ace of the week, sir.
Yeah, mine's nowhere near that exciting, but had a couple of Adelaide-based European friends visit last weekend and did all the touristy things, rode bikes around in 34-degree heat, and neither of them were game to drink Melbourne's tap water.
Really?
When I offered them a drink of water, they wouldn't touch it. I don't know how bad the tap water is in Adelaide, but they took some convincing, and I've since looked it up. It's meant to be one of the best quality drinking waters in the world.
Melbourne's?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they soon got over this little hurdle because they had a big drive ahead of them.
Where are they from?
France and Spain, but live in Adelaide.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. Any SA insights?
Just really quickly, so I was born in the country Riverland in South Australia, and we moved to Adelaide when I was 10. And my mum and I, we weren't able to drink the Adelaide water for years. We were only hooked on to rainwater back home.
Yeah.
So we had to bring gallons and
Really?
big bottles. We'd go home every weekend. So I'm sorry, Adelaide people, but the rainwater is much better in Melbourne.
Okay, so they had a point. They had a point.
Your friends sounded scarred from the experience in the city of churches. Oh, that's good. So you were playing tour guide.
I didn't. I let them guide themselves.
Yeah.
I just offered the water.
The water boy. I love it. Good stuff, Dan Imhoff. Viv, over to you. Your ace of the week.
My ace of the week is it's actually something that's coming up. So I'm about to head off on some leave from next week. So this time next week, I will be on my way to Cape Town in South Africa. So yes, I'm looking forward to spending a couple of weeks
There's
over
a family
there.
connection, isn't there?
There is a family connection, family, friends, but yeah, it's just a place that I love to spend time at.
I've not yet been to South Africa, but my South African wife is doing everything in her power to get me over there.
I would
you
highly
should.
recommend it.
She's from Pretoria though, so a little bit of a different experience because Cape Town's it's a sea city, right? It's
It
an ocean
is.
city.
It is a seaside city. There's mountains, there's wineries, there's a lot to see in Cape Town, but we'll be travelling around a bit as well. So we'll be driving back to Joburg along the garden route. So I would recommend it.
Amazing.
There you go. For me, all is in readiness, ladies and gentlemen, and listeners and viewers. I think we're 13 days to go till the due date of our daughter. And next week on the show will be my last episode in the hosting chair.
Forever.
Not forever, just actually for 4 episodes. But I am looking forward to a break. We'd call it a break. It's a break of sorts, but it's a staycation. We've got the house ready and the baby will be joining us very soon. Elmi is very ready to get this over and done with. So.
I can imagine. That's a really special time and an exciting time. So we wish you all the best for that.
You can join us again next week for the tennis. Don't forget you can watch this episode and all of the episodes of the tennis on the Australian Open YouTube channel. Luke, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, Viv. Thanks, Dan.
Dan, love your insights.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Catch you on ausopen.com throughout the week.
You will.
Lovely. And Viv, when's the next mag out for Australian Tennis Magazine?
There is a mag out now. So, should have brought a copy, but you'll find it online.
Thanks to you as well. I'd like to also thank myself for all my hard work throughout this week and throughout the show. And don't forget to subscribe to The Tennis to never miss an episode all year long. Have a great week in tennis, and we'll catch you next week.